Good evening, Unix 2. This is my project. You can see it all. What is my project? So I decided about 6 months ago to do a year of Linux challenge, which basically means I wiped Windows off of all my machines and installed various different flavors of Linux to experiment and learn and discover. And the why was just to progress really in computer science and to figure out what else is out there and how to operate different systems. How I went about doing all this, we'll see here in the next few minutes. But I'll basically go over some of the hardware features, some of the software setup that I did, and then we'll move into kind of what the future holds. After I do my year of Linux, what tools I want to keep, and what tools I might move to a different operating system, or I find that they work better under something else, either BSD or Windows or whatever else is appropriate for the ends. So and finally I'll go over the lessons learned, which I learned quite a bit, but I want to really touch on the most important ones that I found that really either saved me a lot of trouble or prevented me a lot of pain in the future. So that being said, we'll move around. We'll go around the hardware. Here's where the internet comes in. Notice I got a backup power supply in addition to a network cable surge protection on that. You notice all the dead router boxes. There's two up there and one down there, and I've got another PF-Sense box up in the attic that is also toast. And that was my FreeBSD firewall networking solution. I really liked it, but I don't want to spend another $200 putting another one together. So we'll just have to live with these cheapies until I can figure out how to better protect ourselves from the lightning. Now we'll go over the other networking components here. As you saw from that switch in the closet, got another switch rigged up right here, and that feeds all these machines. Please note, backup power supply, plus an inline surge protector on the network. So it saved me once since I bought it, and it was worth the $160 I think that I spent on it. So, thank you, buddy. Right now we're looking at the FreeNAS 9.10 server. It's basically what I keep all my backups on. I can't reach that high because I'm kind of short, but in there I can hot swap the disks out. Here's one of the HGST 4 TBs that I keep. I can back up my entire, everything I own on one disk, so I hot swap them out. I'll do my backup like an rsync, and then I'll go put this off site. I need to do backups tomorrow, that's why it's down here. And next is the Ubuntu server. This runs all my virtualization stuff. It's got Xeon 1246, so it's 8 cores, and it's got a GPU built into the chip, so it's nice. If you want to do a GPU pass-through, I'm not going to get up there and open it up because it's kind of a pain. But as I said, with the GPU pass-through, I can pass through a video card into a virtual machine. You can do a lot of video coding, or if you want to play games, you can do that too. Right now it's messy, of course, because it's this project is ongoing. As I learn more, I achieve more. And of course, I've got little Raspberry Pis all over the house. If I can give you a recommendation, don't buy the clear case, because it's really annoying at night when the networking cable is blinking at you. But I've got one in here, one in my daughter's room, and one out in the gazebo so that we can stream music, and I got a projector out there so we can watch movies outside. Raspberry Pi. Ace, what is it? What do you smell? Do you smell another Raspberry Pi? So that's the server, and then we'll go over kind of what the Raspberry Pi does here in a second. And of course my laptop. It's running, I believe it's Ubuntu GNOME. Yeah. So we'll do some screens on that, and then my main machine is actually just what you could probably consider just a thin client, and most of the time it runs virtual machines from up here if I want to do any serious work, and that's all down here. Yeah, it's a rat's nest, but again, work in progress. So real quick on the Raspberry Pis, mine are set up all over the house so that they all pull off the FreeNAS server, and they're all assigned static IPs. So I can either manage it through the URL up here. So this one is .23 is a static IP, and you can control it remotely via the interface. So I've got Puppet Master playing right now, and I'll hit pause, and it just works, which is nice. And you can also set it up through your cell phone using the wireless network that you got, as long as you're on the same subnet. Now that we've seen the hardware, let's see what we do with it all. So my primary goal here was to create a virtualization server. So I manage that with the Virt Machine Manager. There's many ways to do it. This is just the way I do it because it's easier on me with the GUI. So we start off by establishing an SSH connection with the virtual machine server. And then so from that point, here I have a couple installs. I got 6 running right now. Not running, but 6 currently configured. The primary ones I use are the Windows 7 instance and the Ubuntu Mate 1604. So the nice thing about this is you can allocate resources based on your needs. So if I needed to run a lot of video compression or do something that required a lot of CPU work, I simply go into the configurations. I can go and allocate CPUs. So right now I'm allocated for 4. I could bump it up to 8 and use the entire process from the server. Same thing with memory. So most of the time I keep it around 6. I've got 32 gigs to play with, or excuse me, 16 to play with right now. And then you can play around with the disk options, VirtIO, SATA, SCSI, IDE, in case you have a legacy system that you need to emulate. One thing I did find about these is you got to do a VNC server, not the SPICE server. So if you do SPICE server, that's if you're running locally, like if this machine, this actual hardware that I'm on right now, if I was running my virtual machines off that, SPICE server would be fine. But being that we're over the network, it has to be configured for VNC for it to establish the connection. So all I do is hit play, I'll fire it up, so we'll establish the SSH into that virtual machine and it'll boot up. Now they boot up relatively quickly, so terabyte SSD in the virtualization server. So I have enough space to play with, but the most important thing is it's really fast. So let's go into why I use Ubuntu Mate for this. So I just needed a machine that could crunch, video compressions or work algorithms very quickly. So it's a nice lightweight distro and it works for what I need. So this machine, MKV, I've got a pass through on the virtual machines, or excuse me, the virtual host machine has a DVD drive. So all I do is I pop a DVD into it and it passes through the host machine into this virtual machine, and I can rip DVDs off of that if I need to. Then after that I'll take it down into Handbrake, and it'll use most of the time I allocate 4 to 7 cores for compression. So then it just crunches down my video into a sizable format, and then I toss it on the server, which I can access over the bridge network settings. So for an example, like I store in my server ISOs, like ISO disk image files, so I can install a bunch of different operating machines and operating systems and experiment on those. Also if you want to run your server, you can, if you have a bunch of Steam clients or a bunch of people, you can create your own game repository that everybody can kind of draw off of. The scanner also dumps into the server as well, so that's a very convenient thing to have. That's the Mate instance, and I experiment around with that, or I'll make a copy of it and I'll create another virtual machine and run tests on that so I don't mess up one. Windows 7, I had to use this for primarily schoolwork. Some of the software is proprietary for Windows only. So I had to have a Windows machine to do some schoolwork over the summer. It's just the nature of the beast. I run this one in full screen. I've got a 2K monitor, so it's very nice to have all the real estate really to do your work. Everything works just like it does normally in Windows. So even your Windows key, it captures in there, it locks all your shortcuts. Windows E opens up File Explorer and you can check it all out. Of course, this one's bridged as well, so we can access the server on bare metal from this machine. The one thing that I do want to add about virtualizing Windows is if you don't install something called VirtIO drivers from Red Hat, that's an emulation for, I think it's SCSI, your mouse will be very laggy. All your keystrokes will be delayed. It's very frustrating. It's almost unusable. So if you can, get a hold of those VirtIO drivers, and it'll make your Windows emulation experience much better. Yeah, so there's the Red Hat VirtIO SCSI controller. Highly recommended. That's basically what I do in Windows at schoolwork. Later on, I would like to pass through the GPU so I can, if I ever have some free time, I'd like to try Fallout 4 or one of the other cool games that are really only set up to run on Windows. But that's that. I have a couple scripts that I run on the client side of the house for just regular troubleshooting. So, what is it? CheckNet is a network troubleshooting script that I use because I'm on satellite internet, so a lot of times the connections will drop or they'll be really weak, and yeah, as opposed to calling the company every time, I check my own side of the house first. So all this does is it pings the switch in the office, and then that in turn pings the switch and to where all the connections in the house come in, and then it pings the router, and then it pings Google's DNS. So if it's on my side of the house with these first three ping iterations, I don't have to call the company, but if it's not pinging out to Google DNS, it's most likely something wrong with the transmitter on the company's side. Current is because I'm lazy and I don't like to type out all the commands in order to get updates, so I just made a script that basically asks for updates, gets the updates, applies them, and then a Python script makes it snow, which just makes me laugh and smile. And it's also nice to see out of the side of your screen when you work on other stuff, waiting for updates to complete. And of course, YouTube DL is awesome. You should check that software out. If something goes horribly wrong and I need to SSH into the virtualization server, I can. I can also monitor from here, so you can get your output at top to see how much you're using, and if your server is starting to struggle on load averages. I also like to run. I like to monitor temperatures because sometimes I'll get some throttling. Right now we're running nice and frosty because there's really nothing going on the server. But it's stuff like that. It's just nice to have. And if you see down here, you can also do through Conky configuration. I'm not sure it's going to show up too well in the video, but I run the Conky basically just to monitor resources on the client side. So the final part of the project is the lessons learned. I took away 3 big ones. The first one was gather information, read the documentation, and find resources. Be it forum posts, take with a grain of salt. Some of them are outdated, some of them are just straight bad advice. Find the links, journals, just read and really enjoy the documentation process of Linux. Number 2 is backups. I like network backups, and I have offsite backups that I keep on top of those. So they really saved me through some lightning strikes where I completely toasted machines. All these machines are actually new as of May. Thank God insurance picked up on it with homeowners insurance, but if they didn't, it's probably like $3,600 to $4,000 worth of machinery, which just got toasted by lightning, not to mention all my data. The third one is enjoy the process of not necessarily failure, but recovering from failure. So I've broken more Linux installs than I can count so far, but what I learned from every single instance, and the stuff I wanted to keep, thank God I had backed up, so it didn't really matter. All I had to do is upload configs or rebuild it from stuff I had already successfully implemented. But I enjoyed the process. I'm only halfway through the year of Linux, and I look forward to the other 6 months.